Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Thursday, July 30th, the second July 30th in a row, no doubt, 2026. And today we are talking about building community with small gardens, selling the idea of ecological no-till farming to others, and treating Japanese knotweed not with herbicide. So let's do it. All right, good Thursday to you all. I hope everyone is doing well. We're inching closer to August. It's been a good month here so far. Vacations don't hurt, I guess, in that sense, but we've gotten some reasonable rainfalls. Those don't hurt either. Had a really good meeting with the No-Till Growers board yesterday, which may not sound exciting to you, but we've got a brilliant board of directors with great ideas, and it's like being able to, I don't know, just sort of tap into one really big, smart brain. And I'm excited to work with him, and as a result, you will start seeing some small changes to the show over the next few weeks to try and make the experience a little better for you all, which should be fun, in fact. And I promise won't include me talking about exciting stuff like board meetings. Now, it will include exciting things like talking about community and neighbors, because that is, in fact, not only a big theme of farming, but a big theme of the show today. So that is where we are going to focus our energy. But first, we'd love to see what you all are up to in your gardens. You can do that by uploading a 20-second farm video clip to Dropbox or Drive and sharing that with Farmer Mike at NoTillGrowers.com. Shouts to Mike for inserting all those little surprises in the videos from you all for me to watch while I'm doing, the final watch through. Always a delight. All right, so we are going to do our typical Thursday Patreon mailbag today. And as always, feel free and encouraged to add your 2 cents in the comment section to how you might answer these questions, because I definitely do not have a monopoly on all the good ideas or good advice. So yeah, chime in with your thoughts. Today's first, and technically second, Patreon question of the day goes to Patreon member Matt Marshall, who writes, quote, "Hey Jesse and nerds, huge fan of the show and of your book. 2 semi-related questions. First, I wondered if you could give advice to those of us gardening as a passion/hobby rather than a living on how we can use our gardens to build community. I've loved your segments on how farmers can help needy families, support other farmers, etc., on top of the community you're building through the nonprofit, and how much you clearly care about people/people and people/nature partnerships. But I think some of that advice has been suited to commercial context. I was hoping you could share your thoughts on how quote unquote regular gardeners can use the hobby to build tighter knit and more resilient communities," end quote. All right. Great question here. And I love how many, like non-commercial growers follow this show. I learn a lot from you all, from small growers and commercial growers alike. So I'm glad others feel that way as well. Anyway, Matt has a second question that I'm going to save for the next segment about changing the minds of neighbors about ecological farming. But in any context, building community is generally an active thing. Commercial backyard doesn't matter. It's all the same. Building community can become a passive thing where you have a place where, groups naturally hang out. But in general, a healthy, robust community is the product of intention and action and place. I've talked endlessly, at this point about my passion for coaching youth soccer. It is something I can do myself to engage with my community, but it takes a place, the soccer fields, and an action, coaching, and of course an intention to help the kids and be a part of the community. But what does that look like in a garden sense? Well, it could be a number of different things, honestly, but it has to be done with intention. First, I'm just throwing out ideas here, but if your goal is to build, community around like-minded gardeners, it could be, as simple as little garden get-togethers, or for commercial growers, maybe farm get-togethers. Maybe you start a gardening group where you and the others go visit each other's gardens in the middle of the seasons and, chat about what has worked and what hasn't. Do a little potluck. We farmers love our potlucks. Maybe over the winter, you make it a gardening book club where you read a farm book or a garden book and you discuss it. And perhaps you and potentially that whole group get together and have, a fridge you stock with excess produce for the community so they can take that as needed or pay what they can or whatever. I think hosting gardening events in general could be a good idea. Farmers all over your area would probably be delighted to come talk, maybe for a little bit of cash, of course, because their time is valuable, and they could do that over the winter and take questions from people who might be suffering from X pest or X disease in that region. Then not only are you getting the community together and giving them an education, but also potentially connecting them with their local farmers. That's a win-win for me, for sure. Again, change is not the product of desire, but the product of action. And the same thing goes for building community. Decide what part of the community you want to engage, fellow gardeners maybe, or maybe it's, kids with a gardening class or immigrant populations with some community gardens, etc. Then make a plan to take action. See what happens. It may not work. I try stuff all the time that doesn't work. It's it's part of learning. Putting yourself out there and just seeing what happens, it can be terrifying, but communities don't build themselves. They don't just, happen spontaneously. Behind every great community is someone or a group of someone's organizing, communicating, taking the time to engage with people and bring them all together. So yeah, think about what that sounds like to you and give it a try. Stick with it. When we started the summer soccer club idea, for instance, we had 6 kids show up or something. Now, like 4 years later, we can have 40 or 50 or even 60 kids up on the field at a time. It took having an idea, making a routine, getting the word out, and sticking with it. That's basically it. How do you all make that happen in your communities with your gardens? Let us know. And otherwise, we're going to take a quick break and then take Matt's second question and run away with it. Possibly. Stick around and find out. BRB.
Lowering and leaning using tomato hooks and Satin Hill Farms trellis. But what I've done is used a leapfrog technique when they go from one to another.
Want to harvest seeds adapted to your farm, but you're thinking, look, I have a market farm to run. I'm way too busy weeding and picking tomatoes. I'm Dan Brieswa, and I'm here to tell you that you can grow seed on your farm without losing your mind. On the Seed Farmer podcast and in my book, The Seed Farmer, I share exactly how busy growers make seed crops work alongside a bustling farm business. Find The Seed Farmer wherever you get your books and podcasts. Go grow some seeds.
Hello there. If you have a question that you'd like me to address here on the show, you can do that. Sign up for one of our Patreon tiers. Go to the latest question show thread and put a question in there. That's it. That's all it takes. Just because of, time, I cannot get to, even a small number of the questions that we get on other platforms. So patreon.com/no-till-growers is the way to get them to me and get them answered. Now, today's second Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Matt Marshall again with their second question, quote, I am hoping for advice on how to communicate with the skeptical or uninitiated about no-till in a way that is inviting rather than indicting. No-till departs radically from common assumptions about good gardening practices, and I worry that I would make it sound complicated or intimidating. I also worry that some of these ecological/environmental discussions, native species, eating less meat, etc., can take on a tone of superiority that makes it harder to connect with people, even when the arguments themselves are absolutely right. I don't want to moralize gardening in a way that yucks anyone's yum, but I do want to help people care about their gardens and also to take a leap of faith on putting away their tiller. You are a gifted communicator and I'd love your thoughts, end quote. All right, so this is a good question. And in fact, the first question does fit nicely with this one because conversations about what works and what doesn't in a communal setting like a garden club could be a great way to share the successes that you've had or seen. First, though, I think it's really important to just be curious about what people do and why. Like other people you want to sort of influence, to wonder what they are doing. Just as a rule, good communication starts with respect for the person with whom you're communicating. Genuinely wonder what they're doing, how they like it, what has worked and what hasn't. It sounds like you have a good sense of this already, but it's good to just say that people respond well to being respected and they might be more interested to hear about new or different practices if they get a sense you want to hear from them as well. Go into any interaction knowing you may in fact pick up some good tips from them too. Maybe a pruning technique or a trellis idea, etc. And they may like hearing about the successes you're having growing X crop without tilling the soil or Y crop without pests because of all the beneficials that you've brought in through flowers or whatever. Some of the growers I learn the most from are old school conventional growers at the farmers market and farm conferences. They don't grow anything like me in a lot of cases, but their knowledge can sometimes be generations deep. And occasionally they learn something from me that helps them too. The other thing that I will say is probably the most important. The proof is in the pudding, meaning if your neighbor or friend or whomever you were trying to convince is over there toiling away at their garden while your garden looks lovely and you're kind of just hanging out enjoying it and it isn't covered in weeds and it isn't eaten by pests or destroyed by disease, that's going to do a lot of the marketing for you. So when they ask what the secret is, you can say, I just don't really till the soil. It keeps the weed seeds buried, improves the health of the soil, and as a bonus, it reduces my workload. So there's that. There's a lot in there. Let the garden be the billboard. Sometimes people don't want to change, or they certainly may not want to change everything about the way that they grow food, and that's fine. I mean, you have to remember some of these people learn to garden like with their grandparents, with their parents, and there's a lot of nostalgia there. So it may be more than just changing their minds about ecology or something. It may simply just go a lot deeper for them. So yeah, sometimes sometimes people just won't want to change, or they certainly may not want to change everything about the way that they grow, and that's fine. If they start to till less or not till as deep, that could be a win. Maybe they try a cover crop here or there because they like how green your garden looks over the winter, or maybe they plant some flowers from beneficials and see, the braconid wasps parasitizing their hornworms and think, oh, what else does that nerd over there do that could help me? Little wins can snowball into big ones, but yeah, it starts with respect and goes from there. Let us know, listeners, what you all think. Otherwise, we will take one last quick break, and when we come back, more like Japanese not on my watch weed. That works. Be right back.
So this is my garden in Columbus, Mississippi, and despite it being 97 degrees today, I came across baby bunnies in my mulch pathway here. Probably the coolest thing I've seen out here. I put rabbit fencing in all along the garden, but it doesn't seem to be working right now.
Boo. It's just me, Farmer Mike, out here in the greenhouse. So I had just a quick bit of advice for you growers who are just kind of starting out and doing lettuce on a larger scale, and I just wanted to show you. All right, so admittedly, I'm one of those growers who has always struggled with summer lettuce production, and I wanted to really dial that in this summer. So I tried a couple of new things based on the recommendation of Farmer Jesse and his videos on starting summer lettuce. And so first, after seeding these trays, I will throw them in my cooler for a couple nights, up to 3 nights, and kind of let them just chill out and get happy. And then the other thing that I've been doing all summer is, as soon as they come out here in the greenhouse, I will cover them with the little meshy tray, just to give them some shade. And then as long as I'm giving them consistent water, the germination rates have been just awesome, and the plants are looking great. And this is just a huge change from what I was seeing last season in the summer. And yeah, I'm just really happy with it. So we have a Growers Daily episode from a couple months ago about dialing in your summer lettuce, and I will post that in the show notes so you can kind of see all the steps and try it for yourself. And looky, I've got little baby ones germinating, and I couldn't be happier. And so happy summer to you all. Happy growing, happy lettuce. Bye.
Farmer Claire Coleman here from the Winter Growers Podcast. Did you know that I also founded Real Farmer Care, a nonprofit that supports farmer well-being? From my own experiences farming, I knew firsthand that this type of support was missing from ag, so I decided to do something about it. As of today, there are over 500 farmer recipients of a $100 self-care award, with more applying daily. If you'd like to help, each $100 donated supports one new farmer. Visit realfarmercare.com to donate and learn more. Again, that's realfarmercare.com.
All right, so our third and final Patreon question du jour comes to us from Hannah, who writes, quote, "Hi, Jesse. I've just found your show recently, but I've been binging back episodes for like 2 weeks now. My husband and I bought a house on 6 acres in southern Vermont, Zone 5A, and exploring the woody hills that make up the rest of the property, we discovered a dense, roughly quarter-acre thicket of Japanese knotweed. In all the research I've done, I can't find any evidence whatsoever that any non-herbicidal methods are at all effective in removing it. So the tentative plan is to, in late summer, inject glyphosate into the individual stalks to prevent any chance of overspray, and then leave it all to decompose in place to minimize the spread of either the weed or the poison. Then we'll bring in some natives to fill the empty space. I do think that the ecological damage that the knotweed can do probably outweighs the damage from the herbicide, but I'm not feeling great about it. I guess my question is twofold. Have you heard of anyone having success with any organic methods? And if not, is there anything my plan that you would do differently? Thank you for all the amazing information and you constantly share." End quote. All right, so thank you, and good question here, and a bummer about the knotweed. Unfortunately, a lot of ecological damage has been wrought by well-meaning people of the past trying to, in this case, bring knotweed in to help keep hillsides in place, but also landscapers who, instead of taking the time to learn the native flora that could have served the same purpose, decided instead to go with what they knew. And ta-da, invasives. So you really have two main organic ways to treat weeds like this. The first is just a really long tarping, like a year or more. That would deplete the knotweed of energy pretty much. You could then follow that up with a good, cover cropping and finally plant the stuff that you want there and just stay on top of any sprouts by cutting them low to the ground. Or you could just heavily mow that area for the next few years, depriving it of knotweed or any chance of survival, and then maybe like either a heavy mulch over that or a small tarping or something like that just to finish it off. Is a giant plastic tarp that much better than glyphosate? I mean, yes and no, I suppose. Neither are really that great ecologically, but at least the tarp can be reused, I suppose. Now, ecologists will sometimes use herbicide, like look for jobs in ecological restoration, and you will find several of them require herbicide licenses precisely because these sort of invasives can be so hard to keep up with. And like you said, a lot of damage can be done ecologically by the invasives themselves. So yeah, I know there is nothing mind-blowing in those recommendations, but that's the reality of it most of the time. The solutions to weed problems are rarely simple or easy, which is why so many people originally turned to herbicides. It's not hard to imagine that the first time someone handed a farmer a spray and said, just put this on the weeds and they will go away, the farmer jumped at the chance and still does. I certainly won't judge you either way. I think if the end goal and result is robust, healthy ecology, you should be proud of that. If you can achieve that without heavy doses of herbicide, that's even cooler, but don't kill yourself to do it. Plant your natives, mulch around them, and then maybe give yourself simple pathways to keep it mowed. That could be one way to just sort of keep that stuff down. Make sure there's a weed barrier, some sort of cardboard, then a mulch around each of the natives. And, like I said, just mow around that and keep it as clean as you can. That is also an option. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Let us know, listeners, what you might say or do or have done. Otherwise, I think that's it for this Thursday. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. That helps us to keep this show going and growing. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That is an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor this show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Tell her we said hi. I mean, I tell her that all the time, but you can tell her too. Big thank you to Michelle. Big thank you to the No-Till Growers Board of Directors, especially for that awesome meeting we had yesterday. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Hannah for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com to support this work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/notillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of July, you get a shout on the show, but no new signups overnight, which is all good. We will keep rolling on. Lance is just going to have to wait to have the rest of his story told until August Eve, also called Friday. That's the way it goes sometimes. All right. Thanks for watching and or listening. We'll see you then. Bye.